Four teens were used to attending school, living separately and in harmony with social media and their friends, when their lives weren't as heavily affected by the world around. But all that changed when quarantine started. This is Teenish, a podcast to inform you on what's going on in the world and how it affects Savannah youth. A podcast for youth, by youth. Hello and welcome. This week we will be focusing on COVID-19 pandemic and how it has affected youth in Chatham County. Another thing to do to stay safe would be to go get tested. Bit about the tests. So there are two different types of tests. There's a viral test and there's an antibody test. Viral tests are to see if you currently have an infection, and antibody tests are to see if you've already had one. And that way people can take precautions that way. So what do you guys have anything to say on that? What are your thoughts, opinions?
So literally while you were talking about it's mainly transmitted through saliva and that type of thing. My first thought was kissing, and I don't know why. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of valid, especially when people get quarantined away from people that they care about, like boyfriends and girlfriends and all other people. Imagine meeting up. There could be kissing involved.
I really liked your facts, especially the whole part on not isolating yourself, because I feel like the biggest thing that COVID has kind of conditioned parents to make teens do is to stay in the house, and that can be so depleting to especially my energy, and make me not want to do anything at all. And so when things do open back up, I feel like for those people who stayed inside and couldn't do anything,
maintain a decent social I mean, if you really want to go that far, you need to be 20 feet away, because that was confirmed how far the sneeze of COVID, or the COVID bacteria, travels. It's 20 feet.
The part that I liked the most was talking about how people mainly recover from home, and how the media doesn't tell everybody that people could recover, since it's kind of propaganda. Not it kind of is, since they're instilling fear into people, saying that this virus is so scary and big and bad that they really don't talk about the recovery rates and all of that. So I really did find that part interesting.
They don't want to focus on all the recovery stories from home. One of my really close friends had COVID. She recovered from home. She went offline for a bit, but she came back. She's like, "Yeah, I'm fine, guys." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Marcus, I love that you said it was propaganda. I kind of forgot the actual definition of propaganda, if I'm being completely honest. But that's what it sounds like when, especially with the media. I just think this is mass hysteria on a large, a school-wide mass hysteria on a large scale. And I'm not trying to diminish the people who have died or the people who have been sick from COVID, but they're not looking at everything. I haven't seen a statistic yet that's this is a color wheel of people who caught COVID. This is how many people who died, and then this is how they died. And if it was broken down like that, I feel like it would ease a lot of nerves, because one thing I feel like they are unintentionally doing is causing a lot of stress on people. And I'm not saying that's their intention, but that's what's happening. And we're back. This is Kennedy White, and I'm joined with Miss Julie Wade of District 1 for the Chatham County School Board. Miss Wade went to UGA for her undergrad, and grad school in law. So, Miss Wade, today we will be trying to dispel the rumors concerning COVID-19 and the Chatham County School District. Over the last few weeks, a rumor has been going around that Chatham County public school system students wouldn't have to wear school uniforms. Is this true?
In my opinion, yes. On June 3rd, we passed a board policy relaxation regarding uniforms. The thought being families are having real economic challenges because of COVID, and buying school uniforms would be an unnecessary burden for those families who couldn't afford it. And so we didn't want to require everyone to buy uniforms. So we passed this board policy relaxation, which is actually the first. I've been on the board for 10 years. We've never done a policy relaxation. Will stay the same, but for the upcoming school year, any parent whose child, for whatever reason, and we're going to go back to that for whatever reason language, is not able to adhere to the clothing requirements of the policy may defer to the dress code for non-uniform days. So as you know, and anyone in the school system knows, we have a separate dress code for non-uniform days, so that if you want to have a spirit day or whatever, you have to comply. Mm-hmm. But again, just sort of like for whatever reason, the line who are not able, there could be a lot of reasons why you're not able. If you haven't done your laundry, even if you have all the money in the world, you may not be able. And then I think you drilled in on the real issue. Obviously, we don't want to separate children who can't afford uniforms and children who can't afford uniforms, right? I mean, that would be really awful to do that. And we try to be very, very discreet on all of those issues to protect children who may have different financial situations. And so I think as I read this as a board member and as a parent of 3 kids, that my children only have to comply with the dress code for non-uniform days.
That's all the questions I have for you today that I really enjoyed.
Hey, those are good.
I do have a question as well. So basically, you're saying that they don't, for the uniform thing and the dress style thing, you're basically saying that they don't care if you do it, or?
It was more of like the wording of the address was so vague, and there's technically no way to tell if someone is financially unstable enough for their family not to provide school uniform. So I don't want to say excuse, but any excuse to not wear the uniform is valid, because there's no like definite way for you to make you wear a uniform. So it could be as simple as, I had a growth spurt, I didn't want to buy new uniform, so I'm not going to be following the uniform rules. And because of the vagueness of the address, that applies, and you could wear, your dress out of dress code.
Okay.
I know we're like focusing on the dress code. I find it really interesting. If we do end up doing that, because I remember when I moved over here, because I lived in Arizona, we were free to wear whatever we want. If this does put into effect virtually, we'd be able to wear what we liked.
Is it virtually?
Yeah.
Is
that what you're saying?
Yeah, essentially.
So like if this happens, I could wear like my vampire kit shirt, jeans, and my boots, and I wouldn't get coded.
Essentially, just the same as I could wake up.
I think that's like an interesting thing that might be being put into effect because of COVID. Like, I don't see how like one would relate to the other, but I think it's interesting that because of COVID, things are changing in the schools. Also, I'm interested about this. You said it was hybrid days?
That was one of the options to choose for the parent survey when we go back to school.
So it's like some kids would go some days and then other kids would go. And this is going to the campus.
Yeah.
Interesting. So for the kids that, don't go on the select days, do they have like a day off from school, or is it online classes? Do you know?
I assume it's online classes. So it's like 2 days you're going to be in, like physically in the school. 2 days you're going to be taking your classes online, and then on alternating Fridays you'll be back in school or online. So
And I also find that kind of interesting, especially for students that are going to be doing dual enrollment with colleges, like Point University, how they have the proctors and the professors that go to the school to teach. What are they going to do about that? Is my curiosity. I'm going to be taking dual enrollment, and I know for a fact, especially as an example of the end of the school year this year, how are they going to hold students accountable for their work if they could make an excuse about it? Because I know for a fact somebody could say, "Oh, I didn't have Wi-Fi," and they can't prove it wrong unless they call the residents. So I mean,
that literally just got me thinking, like with you specifically saying dual enrollment, because I wasn't thinking about that, but also like work-based learning and like scheduling in general. And like I can only speak on high school because I'm only in high school. And Gary and Marcus, please, if you have any solutions, say it. But I'm just like, we made our schedules during like, did you get a call from your counselor and you made your school schedule while we were in quarantine?
oh yeah.
Nope.
You didn't?
I
Nope.
got a counselor, but I don't think we made the school schedule. But I also am doing dual enrollment next year. I'm supposed to be.
See, I have to schedule my dual enrollment, but also a majority of my schedule, regardless, is arts classes. So I find it really odd if we do the hybrid thing. How am I supposed to, be held accountable for my art, my chorus, my theater? How are we supposed to? We can't even do performances. What would be the point? They're already, not super funded classes, but what would be the point in keeping them if you can't even attend them? And they're basically classes that you need to be in the room to perform in.
And see, that's thoughts, like, because I honestly wasn't thinking about this, and I don't think they were thinking about this either. I think they were like purely thinking academic, and those students who are not necessarily on an advanced academic track, because I know a lot of seniors who will be doing dual enrollment or work-based learning, or won't have a lot of academic classes. Like I was thinking of taking 2 gym classes. And now how am I taking 2 gym classes?
I even see this affecting some of our requirements because, because of COVID, there's so many places that aren't taking volunteers, aren't open to, that kind of work. And I know volunteer hours are required for the school. And some people hold them off until their senior year. And how are they supposed to do that if at the end of the junior year or even now during the summer, you can't even really do that because of COVID?
Bro. Haven, that's a lot to consider. And like I said before, I don't those are questions that I think is why we need a teen voice, especially in the school board room when they're making these decisions, because I didn't think of that. And I don't think they would have thought of that because they don't know any students who would have to be dealing with that specifically. So those are really good points, and we need to bring them up.
We understand that during these difficult times, we'll be talking about some very hard topics, and that can be very taxing on our emotional state. So, we want to take a second to share our moments of joy that help us get through it.
My name is Gary. This is my breakfast that I made. I made scrambled eggs with Cajun seasoning. Uh, I made sausage links and toast.
Hi, this is Kennedy, and me and my family went to the beach to catch the sunrise for my brother's birthday.
This is Marcus, and 2 weeks ago, the PS5 was revealed, and that got me excited for it when it ever releases. And that's it.
Hi, I'm Haven, and this is my favorite drawing. This isn't my favorite drawing in Sokka, but what makes it my favorite is I got to spend time with my sister and niece, and I get to see them very often, so that was really nice.
So in addition to serving the school board, I'm the director at Park Place Outreach, a teen homeless shelter providing residential and non-residential support for runaway homeless and at-risk youth age 11 to 21. And just like everyone watching this podcast who's been cooped up since March, our folks have as well, whether they're in our residential program or the teens that we serve in a after school and summer camp capacity who've been stuck at home. And we finally were able to bring everyone together last Friday at Wesley Gardens for a big picnic.
Thank you so much for listening. This is a podcast for you, by you.
We're small now, but we can always get bigger.
If you're interested in joining, giving us a moment of joy, or you have a topic you want us to discuss, please contact us at the email below.
And next time, where we talk about the second pandemic that's hitting us in America, racism.